thank you. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, you're good.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Have a good meeting.
Thank you very much. Are we ready?
Yes, sir, you can start.
All right, this is David Thomas, and I'm chairman of the Legislative Committee of DDSN, and glad to have everybody here. We've got some participants in Columbia at the main office. Now, how many commissioners do we have? Kim, we got Eddie, we got who else? Is that it?
Commissioner Rawlinson is on the phone.
And Commissioner Lamel is on Skype or Zoom.
Okay, all right, real good.
And Commissioner Blackwood.
All right, let's. So we'll call the meeting to order. This should be a quick meeting. What we're doing is given this is the legislative committee, I wanted to make sure that over a period of time that we had reviewed anything that had come out from the legislature, like Legislative Audit Council requests for audits, like the Mercer report. There was a committee in the House that had an oversight report that we actually put on the agenda to kind of review that. But we'll be looking over the next month or two or three, the various sorts of reports. I want to make sure that the full commission has at least not a working knowledge necessarily, but at least an understanding that X, Y, and Z reports, so they don't get caught flat-footed. And so Kim has worked real diligently to come up, I think, with copies of the LAC reports. We got Mercer report. We've got legislative oversight report. On the agenda today, we're going to be reviewing just quickly some legislation that might relate to us, some that does directly relate to DDSN. We've got the oversight report as item number 4. And that's it. So it's just review. We're not adopting anything. We're not taking any action on anything. We'll receive this with the committee's support as information, and then we will put it on the agenda for me to just basically put before the full commission in a very brief 5-minute part of the agenda. When we have the next full meeting of the DDSN full commission. Okay, that's the agenda. Is everybody on board with that? Just informational, basically, but important information.
Commissioner Thomas, may I do the statement of announcement on your behalf?
Yeah, sure, please.
Okay. A meeting notice announcing the date, time, and place of the February 11th, 2021 Legislative Committee meeting was distributed February 9th, 2021 to appropriate media and other groups or individuals who have requested notification. The announcement and agenda were posted on the DDSN Central Administrative Office and on the website. The public has been notified that accommodations such as interpreters, mobility assistance, or other assistance will be provided to individuals with disabilities and special needs if requested in advance.
All right, that's a statement of announcement. Did you conclude that, Ms. Kim?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So that's simply the statement. We'll go to item 3, and I've already outlined simply what we're going to do. And everybody's got, I presume, the agenda, which is 5 pieces of legislation under item number 5, and then a brief review of where we are on the House Legislative Oversight Report. And that's actually on the agenda, and that's it. And so without anybody's objection, let's go ahead and get started real quickly. Do the committee members and staff and everybody have a copy of the Legislative Oversight Report from the House back in, I think it was 2 years ago, Phyllis Henderson's committee that was assigned that task? Everybody got that? I'm presuming with no one answering, the answer is probably yes. Kim, you want to take up, if you will look in the document sent to you, if you will look up the stapled copy, or if it was not mailed to you, the copy that says House, not Senate, not Joint, House Legislative Oversight Committee Report on DDSN's 17 recommendations and DDSN's corresponding actions. So we're happy to see that there are actions down there. Then you see, we don't want to. The point is that the members of the commission and the committee, of course, need to be aware of what's here in case we're ever in front of a legislative group and they say, you know, did you all get that report from 2 years ago from Representative Henderson's committee? Then our response will be yes, we worked on that, we have responses on that, and we're not caught, so to speak, flat-footed. You know, I think as a former legislator, I mean, what you want is the work you put in. You don't want to be ignored by an agency after you put in a lot of energy to looking at something. So we want to be very respectful to to that branch of government and be responsive to them. So I come in from my perspective, I'm real sensitive to that, and I'm happy to say that we do have answers and recommendations. Whether or not it would be the things the House would want to see is a different matter. Go ahead and just quickly run through the highlights, if you would, Kim. Some of these are rather mundane, but some of them have some substance, and Kim and I have briefly discussed, and I've given her the option of going through some highlighted things that she and I think you might want to focus in on. Now, it's only 1, 2, 3. How many pages is it? 4 pages? It's maybe a little over 4 pages. I mean, you can just speed read this, and it won't take you 10 minutes. Go ahead, Kim. Which one do you want to start with?
Well, I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Director Brown because he's joining us today, and he's the author of that document. So since he's joining us, I think he should present.
Oh.
Is that Pat?
Yeah.
Say Pat's there?
Yeah, remember this Oversight Committee started well before this report was sent out. So I think that my first, this is Mary speaking, my first encounter with this committee was actually testifying as the executive director of Max Abilities prior to
Yeah,
the report coming out.
I saw you referenced in the full report.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that's interesting. She goes from one way to look at it to another way to look at it.
Well,
Hey, Pat, you want to start then?
I will. I'll do it.
Jay?
I'll just start at the top and go down, and just as way of background. While the House Legislative Oversight Committee was taking testimony and report, I was the interim director, so I was somewhat intimately involved in this project. Number one, expand the potential pool of direct care professionals. We had a representative that had great interest in recruiting new direct support professionals to service, and she was wanting a couple of ideas, and we took that idea, and I thought it was a fabulous idea. When Mary came here, she decided to partner with the Department of Education and start building DSP training programs in the high school or technical programs so that we could give them certifications so that when they leave school, they're certified to start work right away at a $13 an hour job. We're about 70% complete. I think COVID set us back a little bit, but that was a very successful program, a lot of interest, and I think that has an ability to go statewide.
Go on. Good. Next.
The second one is where it says provide a progress report. The bulk of the recommendations essentially came from DDSN's self-evaluation during the process, and we wrote a report identifying what we're going to do to improve, and the committee adopted that in whole. And as you can see on there, we most of it's green. We still have a little yellow left to mop up. Expand commissioners training. That was a topic spoken about quite a bit, and obviously we came up with an action plan, and Mary came in and she realized that the complexity of DDSN is so great that generic briefings and manuals 3 inches thick weren't getting it done, and so her style was to have one-on-one briefings with new commissioners and refer them to executive managers in their area of expertise. Number 4, review the agency regulatory environment. As a matter of course, during these reviews, we look at our existing regulations, we make recommendations. A lot of ours were basically eliminate or improve the wording, nothing substantial. But they just wanted us to look at the whole environment, which we did afterwards, and we have a memo to document the same. Amend DDSN suggested changes to existing regulations. We made some recommendations, and that's part of our overall regulatory review. Create a cabinet agency. I think that was the culminating recommendation by the Oversight Committee. And that action does not belong to us. That belongs to the legislature.
Exactly. So we just leave that.
There you go.
And that's where we don't want it to go.
There you
So, that's good. Going to number 7.
Number 7 was to develop criteria for commission membership. And they took that as, they took up some legislation. I think there's still some pending legislation to really codify that in statute to set standards for new commissioners' training and membership. Redefine the role of county boards. Again, that was to the General Assembly, and they were talking about, restructuring the county boards to basically be part of the state agency. And again, that's out of our lane. And then when you start with 9 and 9 to 17, all are basically very specific statutes, many of which we recommended making modifications to, and they agreed with us. And the action essentially is for us to take these recommendations, go to the appropriate committee, and get their attention to do cleanup bills to correct some of these statutes languages.
Well, who's supposed to draw up that stuff? I mean, are we looking for somebody in the House to, just go to Legislative Council and have them draw up what's recommended here, or are they expecting us to draw up our own language?
I will hit that, and then Kim will follow up. When we got this report and processed it, we went over there late February of the 2019 session, and we provided to both committees, and it was too late in the session for them to really act on it. Okay,
sure.
So this year we're going to go out and get on top of it again, and I think COVID just shut everything down. And now Kim went back over there, and Kim has a little more specific news about how they want it done. And so you go ahead.
Do you all, let me just jump in. Was that through which number 17?
9
you say?
9 through 17, and I could, there might be one in there. All had to do with just updating existing, statutes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, the easy way to do it is just to get one member of each of the committees to take the thing, and I think that would require a phone call. And it could be Legislative Council can just draw it up, and then we can recruit somebody and basically say, this was recommended, do you mind being main sponsor for this? And if it's a committee that the legislation is going to go to, you'd probably get a yes from anybody. So, okay, all right. I suspect if I tried to have Legislative Council draw something up, they might look askance at that and say, "Hey, I think you were out of here." So, I like the idea of maybe recruiting somebody.
Well, Commissioner Thomas, I've done a little bit of research, and so we may have a very easy, there are 2 roads that we can go down. The easiest road is typically what happens when there are these types of cleanup recommendations. The Legislative Oversight Committee just takes it and does it. So it may just be that they weren't able to get to it that session, and we just need to reach out and talk to the Oversight Committee. Let's somebody send, and we can do it under my name, or we can let's do it under my name if the committee's okay with this. I will just send a letter. Kim, work out the details if you would, please. But a letter to Phyllis Henderson. Is Phyllis still in the House?
She's not.
Nope, she's not.
Okay, find somebody on the committee that that is still in the House, and what I'll do, like the vice chairperson, and I can reach out to that individual and say that these pieces of legislation, could you please allow these to be drawn up and submitted? This is the first year of the 2-year session, right? Are we now in the first year of 2020?
Yes.
So would this be 21? Would this be the first year of a 2-year session?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So even if we had them drawn up now, they're good to go for next year, even if we can't get to them this year. No big hurry. Let's just, Kim, if you could get me some letter or have Pat help me out with that, or just writing the letter to somebody on that oversight committee that's still in the house. All right.
Okay.
And let's get that off. And what we're doing now is asking them to take these recommendations and put them into, it could just be one bill. We don't have to have, some of them might go into different committees as I was looking at it, right?
Yeah.
3M, and yeah, there's 3M again. Do they all go in 3M? Or would they all go in 3M?
I thought we had one.
I think a lot of the 44s do.
We can figure out those details.
We can figure it out. But if we just got, it's okay if it's just one person. I was just looking for somebody in the committee. Sometimes that helps if you've got a committee members. But we'll just have the second person down or somebody on the committee shoot the letter off with a copy of this and saying we just need this to be sent to Legislative Council. Would you please be willing to sponsor these changes that we concur with, et cetera, et cetera. Is that all right, committee? Is that okay with the committee? No opposition to that. Okie dokie, let's do it then. Again, that doesn't have to be something the commission has to approve. It's just something we're going to do. But I will bring up to them next week that we will be sending a letter to the appropriate person on this oversight committee to see if we can get legislative council to draw up the proposed legislation. Okay?
Commissioner Thomas, this is Commissioner
Yes, sir.
Miller. I'm in agreement
Yes,
with
sir.
that. I'm in agreement with that for the record.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Rawlinson is also.
Anybody else have any specifics? We'll be going over the legislation when it comes up, just like we're going over this proposed stuff. Anything else on this? We've got some issue 1 stuff. I see colored stuff on page 7. Kim, you want to speak to that, or Pat, you want to speak to any of this stuff? 7, 8 on pages 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, I'll speak to it, as long as you finish, we'll try to start brief and I can expand. This was early in the legislative oversight's process, so they were building it while we were doing it. And we took a lot of testimony, and they were coming up with their findings. And, during the process, we were doing our own self-evaluation. And so we came up with all of our findings and what we saw the issues were, and we presented to them. So I think what they did was they took our work product and agreed with us and didn't really get into some of the nuts and bolts that maybe they do with other agencies. And so they accepted our recommendations, and so we have an obligation to follow up on them. And so I went through all of our recommendations. I think there's like 44, and I think they're predominantly green. We still have some yellow. Like one of the major recommendation was to move to a fee-for-service model, and we're about halfway there. So we're still yellow, but it's on our radar, and we will push forward to close the loop on all of them.
Oh, no, Pat, on the things that are marked in yellow, are those things that are in the works and the green are finished, or?
The green are complete. Yellow is in process, and we identify what process we're on there. And I think we have maybe 1 or 2, I wanted to make it red, but I couldn't read it, so it was kind of pinkish purple. And that was a recommendation that we have since determined ain't gonna work. And we just, it's not feasible, and we had to change course.
Okay, is there anything that stands out, and we'll have this in front of the full commission, anything that stands out here that the committee should just see that would alert you? And because Pat sounds like since you're the author of it, we'll just let you do the brief presentation in front of the full commission then.
That'll be great.
Okay, you're okay in fielding questions about this, right?
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, we're both
All right.
ready for that.
Anybody have any questions on, there's a lot of stuff here, so if you will read it over, then when we're not having to adopt it. I mean, it's past tense, but we will know what the staff has done to, by way of DDSN action, as in contradistinction to the recommendation. So if anything gets time consuming, it doesn't have to be adopted next week. It's just there it is, and we're acting on it in good faith. So I think that is really, really good, and I thank everybody that these past 2 years have produced some focus on the House report, and I hope the House members are conscious of that. Certainly putting it on the agenda helps, I think, so that the full commission can see what great work the staff has done. So, okay, if there's nothing else on this, is that it? Let's go to the legislation, okay? Moving to item 5, current legislation. Kim, did you want to take any of these specifically? Do any of them, everybody should have a copy of 3181, H3181. Everybody should have a copy of 3216S, the Senate bill, 264, H3516, and H3731. Are all of these still in committee, Kim, or have any of them gone out of committee to the full committee of each of the legislative bodies?
These are all still in committee. They
Right.
haven't been heard by the committees yet.
All right.
We also have an addition. This came in late after the agenda was posted, so it didn't get on there. We now have S533, and it's a joint resolution submitted by Senator Shealy to prohibit the use of Section 14C of the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938 to pay subminimum wage to individuals with disabilities.
It is a joint. Did you say it was a joint resolution?
Yeah, it says it's a joint resolution, but the only sponsor is Senator Shealy.
Okay. Okay. Why don't we send a copy of that, if you would, please, so we don't have to look it up? Will you mind emailing us a copy of S533? So we can see what Senator Shealy has in mind. All right. Can you just briefly, I mean, like in 2 sentences, go through these the 4 House bills and the Senate bill just real briefly?
Okay. Yes, sir. 3181. This is the exact bill that was submitted last time that expired in committee. And it has to do with, of course, commissioner training and qualifications. And we plan on offering a suggestion to edit it, and so that way it says under B, instead of saying each commission member shall possess at a minimum the following, we would strike that and add, when appointing commission members, the governor shall consider, and have that listed. That way, it still gives the governor's office a lot of discretion when choosing commissioners, and it doesn't restrict them as much as what is originally written. So, do we need to get commission approval for that, or is that?
No. Well, we present it. What we'll do is present it to the commission as a staff recommendation, and I don't want to overfight on this one. When it comes to their legislation, if they've come up with legislation and it's sitting in committee, that tells me that there's not a whole lot of pressure and angst on the part of members to get the bill moving. So if it's still in committee, I don't necessarily want to rock the boat. I mean, that's their world. And now if it's something that we're trying to push, well, yeah, let's have you over there, and I'll be making phone calls and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not advocating on any of the legislation unless we've got a real dog in the fight. So that's my position. Now, some committee members might say differently, but as far as I'm concerned, leave it alone. Then if it comes up, we'd be there at the committee hearing time. They will contact us and say to you, okay, we're going to have a hearing on this. Do you want to be heard? And the answer is yes. And then if any of the committee members want to show up, I could drive down for the committee meeting or whatever. if we've taken a position on the legislation. They're alarming. The alarming thing about the way it's written, if somebody doesn't have, and this would apply to me, Eddie. I don't know if this would apply to you, brother, but look on the second page on the second item. It says that you're supposed to have, the members are supposed to have an expertise gained from professional or familiar caregiving of substantive duration. Well, I don't know what that, I was the nurse for my daddy for 7 months while he lay dying, poor fella, and I learned how to be a nurse to some degree. But that's the only way I would fall roughly in the category under E, other healthcare. So
I would have to call on some of my friends.
There you go.
Yeah.
But it says, well, I don't know who drew this up, but of substantial duration. That's exactly what you don't want to see in legislation. What does that mean? 2 months or 8 months or whatever? You need to have definitions for this stuff. But anyway,
Well, we need
what?
to also look at 1A. I've got an issue with face-to-face contact between its students and instructors. Most of our colleges right now are doing online learning. And I think we've got to take out that face-to-face contact thing, because I mean that's going to eliminate a whole generation of people being able to serve. Because I mean, while this pandemic may be over soon, there's going to be other problems, and I don't think we can. I think we need to, as a state, need to be sensitive to that. And I think that line needs to come out. I think it's just to say higher learning.
I don't think this bill is going to get through the Senate. It's too ambiguous, and it cuts out too many possible good candidates down the road that could be a good commissioner. So I think the kind of
1962. Why 1962? I mean, that's like some kind of random number that they've pulled out of a hat. To me, I mean, an institution of higher learning, period. A chartered institution of higher learning, period. Before 1962 just makes no absolute sense to me.
They could be referring.
I think they're wanting it to, and of course what that would mean, like they would be USC, Clemson, chartered before. So they're is Coastal Carolina, would they be?
I don't think Francis.
I don't know. I guess Winthrop would be there. Lander.
I mean, Presbyterian falls under that, but I mean, it takes out a lot of our new good colleges that are out there, and I just think that's. I mean, I don't know. I just don't think that's fair at all. I think if it's a chartered institution of higher learning, then that's all that we could. I think we're discriminating at that point against.
The problem is you've got all these commissions with members to the commissions, and if they want to start getting very, very nitpicky with credential qualifications, it starts into kind of a if it's going to happen with DDSN, then why shouldn't we do it with X? Why shouldn't we do it with Y commission?
Well,
so I think it creates a lot of problems.
Right now, the Senate, from what I can understand, is sitting on 38 nominations that are sitting on the desk for commissions that the governor is trying to appoint people to. And I mean, we can't continue to limit these commissions, because if we do, the work of the state's not going to get done. And, this government regulation that's going on here, this is red tape that, that we've got to cut out some of this red tape. We need to put people who can serve in these capacities, and the governor is perfectly capable of selecting his own candidates to fill these institutions. And I think he's got a good staff that looks at the qualifications of these commissioners. And I think we need to trust our governor to make those decisions and take these kind of silly lines out of this kind of legislation.
So just to wait here, and Mary can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the one that I actually went and testified about when it first came up on the cycle a couple of years back, and essentially said the same thing to them that David just said, which is the restrictions as they were written down would basically cripple our pool of potential candidates to serve on the commission. And I pointed out that, much like David just said, that under the rules as they initially suggested them, that I would have not been qualified to ever serve on this commission. The one question that they came back to me, and they were very receptive to that. I mean, the subcommittee that was hearing it. The question that they asked that I think that they would love for us to come back to them on, and if we're going to be doing anything like going to testify, is to make suggestions to them of what sort of qualities would be good to have enumerated. And I do think that it's a step forward, that it's not mandatory, that there's still a lot of discretion given to the governor's office. But, again, I would just say, based upon my experience, if we are planning to go testify, or individuals are planning to go testify, it would be helpful if we brainstormed qualities of a commission member, kind of thing for us. And that would be the only suggestion that I would make.
Okay, well, hopefully it won't come up, actually. I suspect everything will be in limbo for a while. Okay, let's keep, I think we've got enough question marks to be able to proceed. Kim, if the issue came up, well, the commissioners, on the committee level had a lot of questions, and then when it came in front of the full commission, they had significant issues. We don't have to say we're again or pro, because you can amend stuff. So there you go. But we get enough stuff, enough information. So Kim, you can sink your teeth into it, and I hope you're taking good notes.
Yes, sir.
All right. Next, if everybody's okay and got their 2 cents in, next item is 32. Which one is it? 3216?
Yes, sir. This is a bill that has been proposed that would require facilities like ours and providers that are licensed through DHEC to have to install, operate, and maintain electronic records, video monitoring systems at every facility exit. You would have to continually monitor the exits, each exit of the building, and maintain records for at least 30 days. Now, we were contacted by the Fiscal Affairs Office and asked to provide an agency fiscal impact report. And of course, we did that. And Chris and Nancy and also Andrew worked on this. They came up with reoccurring funds. It would be $125,000, and non-recurring funds $585,000. With that being kind of pricey, and it would be pricey for us as well as providers, and also any other entity that would fall under this bill, I don't anticipate it moving very far.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure that it needs a position to be taken one way or the other, except if you want us to do it, you're going to have to fund it. Or that request anyway. All right. If nobody has a question, what's next?
S264.
Okay, go ahead.
This is, I think, a very good bill. There's a sister bill in the House. It's to establish the Disabled Self-Employment Development Trust Fund. The only difference between the House and the Senate bill gives that program to DDSN, and the House bill gives that program to Voc Rehab. Now, in theory, it would be wonderful for us to do that, but I think that maybe we're not the correct agency, because the scope of the people that we serve is much more narrow than the people who could benefit from this program. Someone who's deaf or blind would very much benefit from this program, but those aren't people who are eligible for services through our agency. Does that make sense?
Yeah. The question is, why they put it under DDSN, I wonder.
It's probably because we have disabilities and special needs in our name. Maybe a misunderstanding of what services we provide.
Yeah. I wish they would have considered putting this under the treasurer's office. Does it make more sense? The staff think it makes more sense to be a treasurer's, responsibility of keeping a trust fund?
A treasurer or a voc rehab, because they do a lot of employment work with people with disabilities, so they could be the appropriate agency or the treasurer's office.
Yeah. We'd have to promulgate regulations on this thing too, according to the bill.
Yes.
Okay, that's there for information. That could be something that comes up that would give us a responsibility. What's next?
Can I just say something? I just want to let everybody know that Commissioner Miller is having apparently a little bit of phone trouble. He keeps dropping off. We've got a cell phone now live next to the other pieces of equipment we have over there for all this technology to see if we can keep him on board. But I just want to let you know that apparently he just keeps dropping. He's up now, he says. Okay?
Thank you.
I'm here now.
Okay, we hear you.
Hey, welcome back. Okay.
I heard everything. The only thing that I had to add to that is we can, even if we took it out, at least we'll get their attention, and if it becomes necessary, it can create a discussion, or we can leave it in, either one.
Okay. All right. Keep going then, Kim. We're just getting information from the committee.
Okay, H3516. Director Poole and I actually met with some people today. They were kind of the advocates to get. Wait.
You jumped one.
Yeah. Yep, I did. I jumped one. I'm sorry. H3516. This is a bill that's been brought up by Representative Robinson before. She just had some amendments that she wanted to add to the Family Support Services program. And to give you a little bit of information about the Family Services program, it's not really much of a program. It's state money that is given to us, a small pot of state money that we then divvy out to each of the county boards. So that way, if they had an extra expense that they couldn't cover by funds that they already have, then perhaps they could use those funds. They can use it for if a family member, if they have a special van or something like that that requires them to take the individual to doctor's appointments. If that van broke down, they couldn't afford the repairs, then they could probably potentially get some money to help out with that and just support things like that, things that aren't going to be covered under the waiver. Now, this does not apply to qualifying for benefits through DDSN. Now, the vast majority of people who receive benefits through DDSN are covered by one of the Medicaid waivers. We have maybe 1%. I think Rufus said there was around 50 people who receive state-funded services, not because they're not covered under the Medicaid waiver. So this bill right here and the amendments would not apply to any of those DDSN state-funded services. These are just, it's a very small pot of money that's just used for extra things, extra support that's funneled to the county boards. So right now, what we're looking at, we don't see any kind of fiscal impact. Susan and I also met with Representative Robinson, and she doesn't want extra money. She's not asking DDSN to do anything else. She really just wanted to make sure that the bill was written in a way so that if people needed help, they could get it. And she's very much open to any and all suggestions that we have to help her get this out of committee.
Okay, I was thrown a little bit by, and maybe if staff, we don't have to discuss it now, but under item 4, under section 2, item 4, it seems to me like that's where the service provider means. And then the section that is 422160, Could one of the staff just look at that and make sure that the staff is all clear about what is being requested of us? It sounds like what they are asking for is to have a service provider coming in under 442160, and that they could name someone who was not approved by DDSN and that did not fit within the budget. I'm probably completely misreading this, so it's a little bit of a puzzle to me. So if somebody could be ready to really kind of answer that issue at the full committee meeting. Again, we don't want to get into too much depth on these bills. We just need to be aware of them and want to make sure that staff's got us prepped just in case something's there that we don't want to get boomeranged, okay? We don't want to get hit by a boomerang and not knowing something was present and it was there all the time and say, you know, why didn't you all tell us about this? So how about helping me just unravel exactly what that means? And it's probably not what I'm thinking it's saying.
Okay. Do you want that now or do you want that at another time?
No. Just, in fact, you can disabuse me of misconceptions even before the full committee meeting. That way I won't bring up something that is it's a briar patch that makes sense. Because
I sat down with Representative Robinson last year to discuss the same bill to see, so I can give you some background on that. I'll give you a call.
All right, very good.
Okay,
last one. Is this the last one?
Yes, sir. 3731. All right. Director Poole and I actually met with the association that kind of lobbied and collaborated with Representative Erickson. So there are some issues that we have with the bill. It wants people to be licensed behavior analyst and assistant behavior analyst, and it includes IBIs. And so that is something that we're concerned about, is that IBIs aren't actually a profession. It's a program
that is within our waiver for residential habilitation that handles folks with intensive behavior. This is an IBI is intensive behavior interventions. It is not a quote profession. We have some criteria that tells us what an IBI provider, like what their background needs to be, what their education level needs to be, but it is not something that's certified like on a national level, like a BCBA is, a board certified behavior analyst. That's a national certification that they're asking LLR to now issue a license for. Okay.
So we do not have a problem with the gist of this?
No, we don't have a problem with, licensing people in the profession is fine. We just don't see the point of licensing really what a service is versus it's not a person, it's not a profession. It's an actual service that we describe in our waiver. And it's, one of the folks that wrote this as part of that association is a BCBA. He provides this out in the community. So I think he picked up that language from our waiver document and put it into this. So if we make a suggestion, it's going to be to take that IBI language out. Although Susan says she's reading it again and she cannot find that IBI reference. Although I just talked to them on the phone not 30 minutes ago, 40 minutes ago, and they said it was in. So we got to even clear that little misconception up. But that would be our only issue with this. If a profession wants to have themselves go through licensure, I could understand that. But on the other side of it, if we have a service, now that we have to have those people that we've said, this is what you have to have, to be a service provider, we did not say you have to be licensed to do this. So
my only kind of concern about it is we find ourselves, and I've seen a history of this, there's a group that gets started, and then after a period of time, they say, okay, close barn door. Now the ones that are in get automatically certified, and everybody else now has to jump through a procedure. And it almost comes across like a form of protectionism for the ones that are there. I've seen that with a couple of different groups, and maybe it's good because they're setting standards for themselves, and maybe there are questions about it because what they're doing is saying, now that we've got our 500 people, we can about ask for what we want as far as increased monies because, gee, not many people can get in. I mean, it's just you got to be certified and go through this licensing process, and that's the only thing that sort of hangs in the back of my mind is a little cloud. But you can argue it both ways.
Well, they do have a national certification. There's an exam, there's CEUs every year, and so there is already a national board that covers this. And they have ethics standards and they have actual standards for their profession. So you're right. You might not be far off the mark there.
Well, I'm not really. I just am giving you observations more than coming down on the position. It's awfully interesting over a couple of decades to see the same pattern over and over and over and over again. And like, the members of whatever committee are kind of look at each other like, here's another one. If they're asking for to be in their, to be licensed and certified and put under labor licensing, whatever the group is, LLR, and another protected entity. Okay, well, I'm not going to argue. I mean, I'm just pointing out. Is that it? Does anybody have anything else they want to say? I think that concludes, and I thank everybody for helping out. And Kim, good job. Everybody, good job. So what we will do is just, I think, put me on the agenda to just review oversight report and current legislation and for information. And that's all it is, because the full committee, just like the subcommittee now, we're not taking any position. We're not voting. This is information for the group. Okay. Very good. All right. Dismiss the meeting then, and y'all have a nice weekend. Bye bye.